Hello and welcome to Coast AM's official YouTube channel. I'm your host, George Norrie. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And you can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and of course, on coasttocoastam.com. Well, Whitley Strieber, the author of many best-selling novels, works of nonfiction, also hosts the show Dreamland, his website, unknowncountry.com, where you can get cutting-edge and incredible stories. We're going to talk with Whitley about a couple of things that are going on around this planet right now. One, the zombie apocalypse. Something's happening. And also this bizarre story that happened outside of the United States, spiders attacking and killing people. Here he is, Whitley Strieber. Whitley, how are you?
Well, I'm glad to be back, George, as always. And, it's strange times, all right. The story out of India is really bizarre. In a place called Guwahati in India, don't worry where it is, it's not near here, and neither are these spiders yet. This area has been just inundated by a new, previously unrecognized species of tarantula.
Oh, God. I hate spiders.
Well, let me put it this way. Most tarantula species that we know of are not particularly poisonous. They have a numbing poison in the hairs on their legs, but this doesn't. It's uncomfortable if you get it on your skin, but it's not deadly. However, these spiders in India, which at this point are believed to be in the tarantula family, are dangerous.
They're coming after people, aren't they?
Well, yeah, they're really aggressive.
Yeah.
They actually leap at people in large numbers.
Jeez.
They'll come rushing out of an alley and attach themselves to someone passing by. So far, 2 people have died as a result of these spiders, and colonies of them are attacking villagers en masse. The bites cause painful swelling, and people are trying to drain the wounds with razor blades, and that's what they're getting killed by infections as a result of this. But I have to admit, it's something I would be really, really happy if it never happened to me.
I mean, how far do these things? They can leap like 5 feet, 6 feet, can't they?
Well, they can leap a long distance. If you get into the proximity of these spiders, apparently you're going to get them on you right away.
Oh, my gosh.
But here's the question I have. Why is so much of this strange stuff happening now? I don't have an answer. But there is an awful lot of odd stuff going on. Our website has a section where you can post, you can't post it, but you can send us stories of close encounters and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, normally we get it in that section 5 or 6 close encounter stories a day. Some of them very recent, some of them ranging back from years that people just decide they want to tell about. But subsequently, just recently, we started to get stories of people hearing strange sounds. Just a couple of hours ago, someone sent me a story of hearing these strange crashing noises like automobile accidents taking place in the sky in the middle of the night above his house.
Bizarre.
And he called a friend the next day, and the friend said, "Oh, yeah, I heard that too. I didn't know what it was." And he said in the letter, why didn't anyone report it? And I thought to myself, well, why didn't he report it? The answer is, you don't know what to do with things that are as strange as this.
And they keep coming. I saw today the picture of that homeless guy, Whitley, in Miami, the guy whose face got chewed up. I mean, it's horrible, simply horrible. Yet these cases are cropping up all around the place.
Well, the first thing that happened like that we know of that was reported extensively enough to be picked up was the May 26th attack of the man in Florida. As you said on the news, the poor guy was attacked, is recovering, but he's probably going to be blind for the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is apparently due to by the many street names and is generally called
bath salts, right?
Bath salts, and it's actually, in most places, the ingredients aren't actually illegal, and so they're cheap, and you can get the ingredients. I'm not going to bother to say what they are on the air. I'm sure anyone wants to make it will look it up on their own. But the point is that this stuff causes paranoia and all kinds of derangements, and you add to that what is called the copycat effect, which, a wonderful guy, Lauren Coleman, wrote a brilliant book a few years ago, about in 2004, I think, or 2005, called The Copycat Effect, which he illustrated how a news story about something like that can spark other people to do the same similar things. And the case that happened today in a park, where a woman has taken a little 3-year-old girl to the park in Miami, and suddenly this naked guy jumps up off of a park bench and propositions the 3-year-old.
Yeah, he tried to molest her.
Yeah, naturally, fortunately, the woman got away with the baby not being hurt, but good Lord.
Well, and there was another case. I don't know if this guy was on anything or not, but he tried to molest a little kid, and the father of the kid beat him to death. Look, I'm probably defending the father. I mean, if you saw that happening to your little kid, you'd go ballistic too.
I'm not sure that it would be right to say that this man committed murder. He beat the guy. Whether or not he intended to beat him to death, only God.
I'd say that's self-defense.
Point is this. Exactly. I mean, you have to draw the line somewhere. I mean, you can't sit there being politically correct with your child in that kind of danger. So, yeah, the guy did what he had to do.
Whitley, as you were on hold before you came on, they've passed a law in Indiana now allowing people to shoot at police officers. I've never heard anything so ridiculous. Of course, we're a rights person. We believe in the Constitution. We don't like infringement of property and stuff. But how many sickos are going to say, if a cop comes to your door, just comes to your door, they're going to say something like, well, I thought he was going to try to break in. Oh, my God. And cite that law and shoot the police officer. It's crazy.
George, I heard that on your newscast, and I haven't thought about that yet. All I can say is this. I would not like to be a police officer in Indiana.
No.
You talk about a vote against the police. That's about as much of a vote against the police as you can say.
We're going to take some calls. Whitley, if any police officers are in Indiana, I'd love for them to call us as well. We're going to be talking about the zombie apocalypse, these strange spiders jumping out at people in India. Oh, throw them off me. I'll be back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast to Coast. I'm George Norrie with Whitley Strieber. We're going to take your calls as we talk about the zombie apocalypse, of course, spiders jumping at people, and this bizarre law in Indiana allowing people to shoot at police officers if they feel as if their property is being infringed on. Whitley, what's new with you these days?
Well, what's new with me? Let's see. Both the Greys and the Nine Incidents movies are in development.
Oh, great.
Hot development, in fact. So we might see something of those at long last. The Nine Incidents has not been going for very long, and it looks like they're going to make that movie. The Greys has come back to life after 6 years. So that's what's new with me. And also I've been running after a pack of strange animals in Texas.
Like chupacabra types or what?
Well, that's a word they're using, but certainly fortunately, nothing like the mythical chupacabra in Mexico, which is a much scarier deal. I have a long history with this animal. Back in 2004, I ended up in a situation where I had possession, or some people who were involved with me in Texas had possession of the carcass of one of these animals. At the time, Texas wildlife were saying, biologists were saying it was just a mangy coyote, a coyote with sarcoptic mange. We had the animal, the body examined, and the configuration, the morphology of the head was not that of a coyote. It had very large canines as well, much larger than those of a coyote. We had it DNA tested, and at first the laboratory called me and said that they could not identify the animal. And I specifically asked the woman, it's not a coyote? She said, no, absolutely no question it's not a coyote. We don't know what it is. 6 months later, the laboratory suddenly sent me a report saying it was a coyote. And I called them, and no one would talk to me. My conclusion was it wasn't a coyote, and I don't know why they said that. Now, on the 4th of June, a few days ago, a number of these creatures were seen together. They've been seen in California. They've been seen in Maryland. They've been seen in Texas and other states. And I'll tell you another place where one of them was photographed many years before any of this happened was on the National Institute for Discovery Sciences ranch in Utah, which was that place where the ranch was actually bought by NIDS because so many strange phenomena.
Oh, it was the Skywalker Ranch.
The Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to a few days ago, north of Austin, Texas, a guy, a local resident, sees some of these critters in a field outside of his place of business. He said he doesn't know what it is. He said the report was that it was either a mangy-looking coyote or a chupacabra. Now I'm going to quote him. He says, I don't think it's possible. I've seen coyotes and I've seen this. 2 of them within 25 feet, and their head is just no way similar to a coyote at all, which is exactly what the biologist that observed the remains that we had said. The ears are different. Their eyes are different. I just can't believe that.
Strange
and
creatures.
He said, my guess is it's some kind of a crossbreed.
How do you continue to follow up on this thing, Whitley?
Why do I continue to follow up?
No, how? How can you?
Well, I will follow up on it.
Okay.
Linda Howe, she comes on Coast all the time.
Oh, she's like a pit bull.
She can follow up on anything.
That's right.
I've learned a lot of lessons from Linda, but if she's interested in this, I'm sure when she gets back from Turkey, she'll follow up on it.
Okay.
It's quite extraordinary that this unknown breed of animal would be spreading across the United States, and nobody even tries to find out anything about it. That's very different from what usually happens in cases like this. Normally, an unknown animal is a cause for a certain degree, at least, of scientific interest and even celebration.
Sure.
But this animal, no one wants to find out about it. I find that very odd.
I agree with you.
Very odd. Yeah, very odd.
All right, let's take some calls here. We'll go to Eric, first-time caller in Evansville, Indiana. Hey, Eric, thanks for calling. Eric, you there? Nope, Eric is not there. But let's go.
Eric has fallen asleep.
He's disappeared. Let's go to Drew in Albany, Georgia, wild card line. Go ahead, Drew.
Hey, George. I was calling about the Indiana law.
Sure.
From what I understand, it is kind of limited. They did pass some restrictions on what exactly it did apply to and where it could be used. I mean, it does sound crazy at the first, but it's also in response to the rash of recent issues where police have come into, like, the wrong house and busted through the doors of wrong houses, and people have actually gotten killed by the police in response to them coming through the door and just in total shock of someone coming through the door, not expecting it.
Well, I agree. I defend police officers because I think that 95% of them are hardworking, dedicated men and women. But, I mean, this is going to create problems. If they allow someone in their home or in their car to even suspect that this officer's doing the wrong thing and giving them the right to kill the guy or gal, That's dangerous. I agree with you. When the police break into a house, it's the wrong house, and they do these things. That's horrible. But
I do not think it applies to vehicles. I think that's one of the restrictions.
The story. Now the story said cars or houses.
Okay,
personal property. Yeah. But my gosh, it's going to be a very confusing situation. I could see a very good defense attorney trying to use this in any police-related shooting. Whitley, don't you?
I think it's bad, probably a bad law, even though it may be limited in its scope. It's got the same problem that the stand your ground laws have. It's going to be really, really difficult when it comes to enforcement. Because, in fact, if a citizen shoots a police officer dead on his doorstep and lives more than a few minutes after that, which would be surprising because there's liable to be other cops there, and they're going to blow him away. But if that happens, what is the trial going to look like? What is the defense going to be? And if the man walks, what does that say to criminals?
Exactly.
And it is just I think it's bad legislation. I really do. I think that the existing laws have kept order very effectively for a long time. And doing this, or the other thing that there's a lot going on, is privatizing police departments. And another thing is that we have privatized jails, and now we have the jail lobby giving dollars to people who are running for office so that they will come up with more laws that will put more people in jail.
Yeah. It's crazy. And wait till they privatize these jails. And it becomes that's my point. And it becomes real big business.
It is already, George. It's big business. Jails are a big business. And you do that, you get into this situation where we spend something like $13,000 a
person.
Year, a person on school children, and $70,000 a year in some states on prisoners. that doesn't work.
Doesn't make sense.
Wrong with that equation.
Let's go to Sheboygan into Wisconsin. Mike's with us. Hey, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm calling again about the Indiana law, and nowadays there's so much distrust or suspicion about anything governmental. In the most recent census, I was an enumerator, and just coming to the door without really finding out who I was or anything else, I've had a sword pulled on me.
Oh my gosh! But you are absolutely right. I mean, people are suspicious about everything, and this is just a very dangerous precedent. It really is.
Look, did George? I'll be frank with you. I felt uneasy filling out my census form.
Oh yeah,
I felt uneasy about who might find out. I come from a very old-fashioned Texas family. My parents did not believe in driver's licenses. They thought they were an invasion of privacy. My dad used to say, "Why does the state of Texas need to know whether or not I can drive? If I have a wreck, they'll find out."
Way too much information. I think they sell these as marketing tools.
Well, of course they do.
And that's how they make their money. I don't have any problems with them wanting to know how many people live in your house, male or female, ages. That's it. We're census. You do it for voting rights and everything else.
But there was much more. There's much more than that.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Now we have these drones flying around in our country.
Some of them crashing
or going past a plane in apparently a near miss with an aircraft in Colorado.
Do you think 10 years ago, people who thought they were seeing UFOs were actually seeing these drones that were being tested?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Those things. First of all, they don't. They're not really very visible at all. I mean, that's the whole point, right? They're not. UFOs are theater in the sky. Those things. Nobody who's doing that cares whether or not they're seen. They're easy to see. They can be seen. They can be videotaped, photographed. At night, they're extremely easy to see. If they want them to be seen, or they don't care, that's drones. You're not going to see. If someone takes a picture of a drone, it'll be a reason. It'll be amazing. There's a reason that Al-Qaeda people keep getting knocked off by these drones because they're hard to detect in the sky.
Oh, yeah. Almost silent, aren't they?
No. Well, it depends.
I mean, up that high.
It depends up that high. Yeah, up that high, they are nearly silent. The sound doesn't reach the ground, but they're noisy little airplanes. And it depends on who you talk to as to how silent the engines actually are. Who knows? That's probably classified, we might guess.
Let's go to Randy, Phoenix, Arizona, west of the Rockies. Hi, Randy. You're on with us and Whitley Strieber.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Hi.
My question is, with all these unusual noises being heard from like the northern hemisphere and throughout the east, and actually throughout the whole world, do you gentlemen do you think it's possible that the noise is causing these changes, like with the people, with the animals, spiders? I mean, is that possible?
I would very much like to know why a new species of very aggressive spider showed up in India so suddenly. That I find interesting and very, very disturbing.
And what made them so aggressive, Whitley? That's
what makes them so aggressive. They're still out there.
Yeah.
It didn't go away. And as far as the sounds are concerned, I find that very curious. And we get reports almost every. We got for a period of time. We were getting not only daily reports but also videos with recordings. Some of them were hoaxes. Most of them were actually not hoaxes. And now we haven't gotten a video with sounds in it for a while, but we get stories every 4 or 5 days where people are reporting hearing strange sounds in the sky or coming up out of the ground. There was a case in Wisconsin which Linda reported on, I believe, on Coast, in a little town where there were these sounds coming, and they finally attributed them to a 1.5 earthquake,
exactly.
And then they started attributing them all to earthquakes. And I thought, what? Earthquakes have suddenly become incredibly noisy. and then a town Little reported, south of the one in Wisconsin where they were having so many of these sounds, the floor, the basement of an elementary school cafeteria in the middle of the school day, suddenly all the tiles flew up off the floor.
Poof,
and
just
they
like that.
Closed the school and sent the kids home and had to repair it before the kids could come back.
With no explanation.
Explanation whatsoever.
Michael, Oklahoma City. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I've had these experiences where people would tell me about people breaking into their houses dressed as cops, but they were actually gangbangers, and they end up going into the houses and robbing them for everything they got.
No, there's no doubt about this. As a matter of fact, up in San Leandro, Dan Dillman, who heads up the Bell Theater, they had people out there posing as cops, robbing people, and he had a couple police officers, legitimate officers, go into his theater unmarked, plain clothes, and he claims they did not properly identify themselves. He thought they were robbers in to see a worker who was in there doing some work, and Dan got arrested for that. I mean, it's strange. It's a very uneasy situation. But I think when you legislate and give people the right to shoot at if they think, then you're opening it up for a lot of mistakes and definitely a lot of false excuses. Let's go to Jim. Go ahead, Whitley.
Well, I just hope that the wording of the law isn't as bad as it sounds, because it sounds like an amazingly poor piece of legislation to have been passed in the United States or anywhere for that matter.
Let's go to Jim in Los Angeles.
There are countries where the cops are cops by day and thieves by night.
Absolutely. I heard a horror story about a Mexican group of police officers who shook down some people for $600. I mean, it was for nothing.
Yeah, well, that happens there. You know, wherever police are underpaid, that starts to happen. It's a warning in this country, because you cut their salaries enough, and desperation takes over and things deteriorate.
Let's go to Jim in Los Angeles. Hey, Jim, go ahead.
Hey, George and Whitley.
Hi.
By the way, Whitley, Majestic's probably your best book. Seems like it's underrated, but that book is amazing. The reason I'm calling is I've had a gray problem since I was probably 12. But recently, it's kind of interesting. I was listening to one of the programs, and you were talking about the thing in your ear. I'm on my 5th iPhone now, but the first 4 of them I broke by holding it up to my right ear. Left was fine. Put the phone to the right ear, and it would sound like I was talking to a Cylon. The phone would get hot, the battery would discharge, my face would get hot, and it was useless on the right side. If you switch back to the left side, it was fine. But anyway, I managed to break 4 phones that way. I'm on the 5th one now, and I'll only use it as a speakerphone or on my left ear. But I guess the question is there any point in pursuing getting that removed, or is there any way to get it to go away? Or
well,
all right, 40 seconds, Whitley.
Do you know for sure anything is there? Answer quickly.
Yeah. Yes, I made a doctor's appointment, and the night before I had sleep paralysis and night terrors, and in the morning my phone worked fine in my right ear.
Okay, so something's there.
Okay, well, all I can say is this. A doctor attempted to remove the one that's in my ear and failed because it moved on its own down into the bottom of the ear. After the incision was closed, 3 days later, it came back up again. Now, you tell me if it can be removed. I don't know the answer. I've left it there ever since, not wishing to have my ear taken off.
Whitley, say hi to Ann for me. Let's keep in touch, okay?
Thanks a lot, George. Have a great show.
Whitley Strieber, website unknowncountry.com. Up next, we'll talk about remote viewing. We'll talk about the paranormal. We'll talk about a lot of things. I'll be right back. Thank you for listening to Coast AM on our official YouTube channel. I'm your host, George Norrie, and don't forget to visit the Coast Insider membership area on coasttocoastam.com, where you can access our past, upcoming, and classic shows.